Hey everybody, welcome back. And today we're gonna go over the next part of this 10-part video series on how you can have 10K weeks, months, and days, also align into abundance and magnetize dream clients. So I'm John Patrick Muller, I'm a former Buddhist monk. And before that, I had a degree in psychology and I was like professional at being a counselor for substance abuse people. And what happened was I ended up deciding to take my gifts as a meditation teacher, which I developed very meticulously over a long period of time in a very, very focused way, becoming a very good Buddhist teacher and meditation teacher and practitioner, of course. And then I decided to help people in the form of a business with this skill set. And so that took me on the road, the journey of being an entrepreneur. And I had to learn all the skills of marketing, copywriting, funnel building, advertising, all these things. I opened up a marketing agency because I kind of fell in love with the marketing side of it. And then I did launch a spiritual coaching business. I got 38 clients my first month. And today I want to share with you, before I go on too far, I want to share with you some of the things that have helped me and my clients to have 10K months, 20K months, 30K months, 10K weeks, 10K days, 80K months, etc. Okay, and so here is, we're going to continue on our journey of high ticket sales. Now, I should tell you that I didn't actually learn how to do high ticket sales very well until I had already made 10K months, 30K months, 10K, even my first 10K day came before I really knew much about sales at all. But I did know how to make good offers. I knew some good marketing, right? So I already had pretty good marketing. I knew that world. I had a great offer. I had a great program. I had great student results and a great vibe. I was great with people. And so I was able to make a 10K day even without being good at sales. But since then I have learned a lot of things, and I've had more 10K days and so on. Okay, and so I want to share with you some keys, right? And we've been already working on them. We've been going over a bunch of things so far. I won't recap you much, but we already did cover connection and clarity. Those are the two that we just covered, and now we're on to the next piece. Okay, and so we're going to cover the next 6 in this video. We're going to kind of finish the structure. This is the structure of how you host a sales call. Okay, I hope this is helpful for you. You can apply any piece of this that fits and works for you, or you can try to apply the whole thing. It's whatever you want. You'll be benefited no matter what, as long as you try to apply it. Okay, and so the next piece is called communication and catalyzation. So step 3 and 4 are called communication and catalyzation. Okay, now communication refers to the verbal side of presenting what you do. You get to the point in the call where they say, hey, yes, I am interested. And you say, hey, looks like you're a great fit. Would you love to hear more? And if they are a great fit, that's something you can say. And then they would say, yes. If they're feeling the vibe, they're gonna say, yes, I do wanna hear more about what you've got. Tell me. And you're like, cool. And then you go into your little spiel on your on what you do, right? So you're gonna tell them about your modality, you're gonna tell them about your process, you're gonna tell them about how it works, tell them about your program, and you even can go all the way into telling them about your offer, including pricing. Okay, now that is generally what I do. What I have seen work the best is you kind of just get on a little bit of a roll and you just go all the way through. I have experimented with stopping and just confirming, hey, are you interested? But it seems to break the flow. I've actually found it's better to just have a short, maybe 3 minutes, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, but I'd say, get it closer to 3 if possible, of a little bit of a spiel where you are talking to them. You've done a lot of listening, you've learned a lot about them, you've connected to them, you know the kinds of things they're looking for. And so you're gonna give them a little bit of a spiel now about what is your modality and your methodology, how does it work, right? How does it actually work? What is the process that you bring people through? Is there 3, 5, 7 steps that you're going to go through in your program? What does the program look like? What is the offer, right? What is the offer? You have a whole offer there. Then you have you have the program that you tell them about. It all is included in the offer. The offer has bonuses. You know, there's actual value. There's a price point. You bring them all the way through all that stuff, and you kind of do it with this energy of confidence and excitement, right? There's the energy of certainty. Certainty is the primary energy that you're going to use at this part. You can almost consider this section as a certainty meditation. Okay? Now, when you guide a meditation, you kind of get into a state and then you guide somebody to that state. That's how meditation guiding works, right? So if the meditation I'm guiding has like a bunch of different steps to it, I first take a step and then I use my words to get someone else to come to that step. And then I get myself to the next step, and then I get the other person to come to that step. And you're just kind of getting into a state and inviting other people into it. And then you get into the next state, and then you invite other people into it. That's how meditation guidance actually works. That's when you actually do it well. That's what you're doing. And it's not just like reading a script or whatever. You're actually like embodied in the state as you're verbally cueing them to take whatever mental or energetic steps they need to come with you. And the way of a sales call is kind of similar. You're getting yourself into the state of certainty and other things, you know, excitement and certainty maybe are the two. And you're like, you're really in it, and not in a way that's gonna turn people off or feel like offensive or that you're coming at them too hard, but just like you're in a state of certainty and you're gonna read through or kind of go through the different parts of your offer, your program, your method, your process, all that stuff. Okay, and so by the end, they're gonna be coming in. You're inviting them into that state, so they're gonna feel it too. Okay, and you want them to make a buying decision from that state of high certainty. If they're not certain, they're not gonna buy, right? They're not gonna buy something if they're not certain about it. So you get them into the state where they're the most certain, and then that's when you ask for the sale. Now, according to what I understand, asking for the sale the first time is pretty much you're just getting the first no out of the way. You're not trying to actually get it. With the first time you ask for it, you don't try to actually get the sale. Does that make sense? If you did, what that would do is it would cause you to front load all the value, all the things that you have to say. You would front load it all, then ask for the sale, and people are gonna say no the first time mostly, right? Or not no, but they're gonna not say yes yet. They're gonna have a question. They're gonna say and then they're gonna have a question, right? So you don't want to, they call it like blow your load. You don't want to blow your whole load, right? Use all your good juju and information before, you know, right at the beginning. You save some. Okay, so you don't expect a yes. Expect a question or something other than a yes the first time you ask, but you do ask right as they're in the state of high certainty, right after you've said everything, including the price. Boom. That's how I do it. That's how I do it. Now, that's step 3. Step 4 is the catalyzation. So that's the energetic component. The verbal component is what I'm calling communication. And then the energetic component I'm calling catalyzation. Because you can bring people into your energy with your energy, right? And what I do is I take my words and I think of my words as a vehicle, and I sort of impregnate that vehicle with energy. So there's energy mounted upon the words. Does that make sense? So you can mount energy upon anything, actually. You can mount any energy upon anything. Now, you have to know how this works, right? Meaning. You have to understand that your words are just signposts for meaning. Words are empty vehicles, and they are signposts for meaning. Okay, meaning is what's going to, the interpreted meaning by the other person is what's going to elicit their emotional response. Okay, so your words are just signposts for meaning, and the meaning that they interpret are what give them their own emotions about this, okay? And their own understanding, right? Their own understanding, and that leads to emotion and so on, and feeling, right? But you can use your energy to sort of like change the narrative. You use your energy to create the palace of what you're inviting them into. You sort of create it already. You create this energetic sphere, this force field, and you're inviting them into it, right? You're inviting them into it, and then they start to feel it more and more and more. And the closer they get, the more they feel it, and so they're going to be like yes, if it feels good to them. Okay, so that's what catalyzation is. It's a way of cueing other people's energy by using your energy. And you combine that with words. It's not a separate step. You kind of swirl it all together. You mount the energy and the words together, and you give them that full package. And yes, that does take practice. The way that I learned this was doing what is called group sales, right? So selling via workshop, webinar, masterclass, retreat, Facebook Live, video on a page. Does that make sense? So selling via one-to-many format, meaning there's one of you and there's many listeners. It could be live, like a workshop, webinar, masterclass. It could be pre-recorded, like any of those really, or like a video on a page. It could be a retreat. It could be anything that is a one-to-many process. That is what I'm calling group sales, and that is how I learned this stage of communication and catalyzation, right? So it is just, part of the puzzle, but it's really useful. And if you want to go practice it, you can just turn on your camera and just start making pitches, right? Start with the part of like explaining how it works, and what is your method and modality? How does it work? What's your process? What's your program? What's your offer? Including price points, boom. And you can go live. You can do live workshops on Zoom, lots of things, okay? And we already talked about how to do that. So by getting practice in that, this part of the sales call becomes easy, okay? But even if you don't do a lot of that, you can still practice it one-to-one, and you just realize that in this part, it's your turn to talk. And when it's your turn to talk, you're using words and energy to bring them into a sphere, a scape, a energetic environment, an energetic fortress, and they're gonna feel all the things that are included there. And if it feels good, if you've impregnated the words with the right energy, then they're gonna be like, I like this, right? And in the state of high certainty is when you ask for the sale. And then what's gonna happen is that they're probably not gonna say yes in the first time, and so you go on to the next step. So the next two steps, number 5 and 6, are called commitment and coaching. Commitment is where you ask them for the commitment, right? Commitment is where you, at some point during your process of sale, explanation, you need to address the fact that their commitment is the key to their results, basically, right? And that their commitment in the past hasn't been as strong as it could have been. And so that's why you have a container now. You have a container now that they can commit to so they can get great results, okay? Does that make sense? So you have to understand this within yourself. This is really important. This helps to make the sale. When you have to understand within your own self that commitment is the key to results. Commitment is the key to results. Commitment is the key to results, because commitment always creates the container for us that we need, and transformation always happens inside a container. You may not believe me, but trust me, I have taken Buddhism very, very, very far, and I have seen the path ahead of me too, and I've learned from the most embodied masters that you could even possibly imagine, and even 10, 100 times more than what you could imagine. Trust me, I've seen it, I've been there. I know from experience what I'm talking about, what I'm about to say. Within Buddhism, commitments are the key to gaining results. your own personal commitments you make at various levels. There are various levels of commitment. In the beginning, you practice committing to basic things, such as I'm not going to kill, I'm not going to steal, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to cheat, I'm not going to take intoxicants. Right? Those are like 5 of the basic things to commit to in Buddhism. Right? And intoxicants means, like, the best way to interpret that I have found is, the best initial way to interpret that is to not take any substance with the intention to get intoxicated. Anyway, I won't digress into Buddhism right now. But then eventually you also make commitments that are more like, that are even bigger, where I'm not gonna waste my time in meaningless activities. I'm gonna dedicate my life to serving others and to becoming the best version of myself to help others. And there's all these other commitments that go with that. And then there's the tantric commitments, which are higher, they're more subtle. As you go, your commitments become extremely subtle. They become things that an ordinary person wouldn't even comprehend, let alone have any ability to practice, such as you're going to forsake ordinary appearance and ordinary conception. You actually make a commitment to never view things, including yourself or other people, as anything other than fully enlightened. It's interesting, right? That's actually a commitment, that you commit to releasing ordinary appearance and ordinary conception, meaning the appearance of things as being ordinary or non-enlightened, and then you believe that they are not non-enlightened, or you kind of give up the belief that things are not non-enlightened. Hope that makes sense. Essentially, you're committing to embodying a pure world where everybody's enlightened. Now, isn't that interesting? So commitments go from simple to extremely deep and transformational and subtle, so much that it takes years of experience to even understand what it means, okay, or have any ability to practice it. So this is just an example of how commitments supply containers, and containers make transformation easy. Containers hold that space for you. It's like a cauldron, right? When you're creating an energetic, like a chemical reaction, if you've ever done chemistry, a lot of times they'll create a cauldron. It holds the energy so that it can stay in for longer. It doesn't get dissipated, right? It could take you 20 years to do a transformation, or it could take you 6 months if you have a tight container. Like a pressure cooker. Think about a pressure cooker. A pressure cooker, why does it work? Pressure cookers cook faster, you know that, right? You can cook lentils with the instructions with a normal pot. It takes 45 minutes or an hour, or you can cook it with a pressure cooker. It takes 20 minutes or like 15 minutes or whatever, right? Why? I mean, you know from chemistry, more pressure, more heat, right? That it all stays in, basically. It all stays in, and then the transformation can happen faster. So when you supply containers to people, what you're saying is, I've got strong walls. I've got strong walls and a tight lid, and all the energy that we create together is staying inside, and nothing bad from outside is gonna get in, and we're gonna do some work, but you're gonna stay with it in a tight way. It's gonna be tight, it's gonna be explosive, it's gonna be reactional, or whatever. It's gonna be explosive. And the containers got you, and then, you know, transformations that could have taken a long time happen really, really, really fast, okay? So commitment is the key to this. A lot of people think that spending money is the key to transformation, but it's really not. I think that you could ask anybody who actually understands. Money is not the key. Spending money is not the key to getting transformation. I know, because I got a lot of transformation from Buddhism, and I didn't have to spend a lot of money when I did it, right? I volunteered a lot. So I really did. I think one of the keys is actually like giving everything you've got. So I did do that. I literally did. I gave up pretty much everything, and I gave pretty much everything I had for years and years and years, right? And going all in is significant, right? Burning those bridges, not looking back. That is a huge part of getting results. And then commitment, any positive commitment that you can make. And spending money does help with that. If you charge people a significant amount of money to them, they will get this attitude of, well, there's no going back. Okay, I guess I am all in. Okay, I guess I do commit to the container. And if they start to wiggle away or want to like run because things are uncomfortable, they remember that they're gonna lose out on all that money, and they just stick with it a little bit longer. And then boom, they can get a shift. And the next time they get uncomfortable, they think about going, but they remember the container, they remember they spent money, and they're like, oh, I don't wanna lose out on all this money, and they come back. So money can help a lot, but only because it helps to create a container, it helps to create a commitment, and obviously money means that you can hire staff to help you. You can also afford to advertise, you can afford to build a funnel, you can afford things like this. Obviously money helps you to help more people because you can reach further. But for them, for that particular person, their money helps them to go all in, to make a commitment, and to submit, to surrender to the container, especially if the amount of money is significant to them. And remember, you're dealing with high-level transformations here, okay? So anyway, I'm not gonna go too far in this, but I think you get it now. That commitment is huge, and in my experience, I know that a lot of us, especially if you're coming from a very spiritual background, maybe not especially, but a lot of us have a hard time making commitments. We feel like part of our spiritual journey has been wiggling out of previous commitments that have been bad. So we have this association with commitments that are bad. Somehow we've gotten ourselves into this mess where we have a negative relationship with commitments. It's part of rejecting masculine structure, I think. It's part of like trying to get into your being state. It's part of rejecting society, which makes you poor actually. But it also, it's hard because we're trying to get free. We're trying to free ourselves from the things that bind us. And we end up wiggling out of, so many things. What happens is we do gain some freedom. We gain some freedom from releasing previous commitments and bondages and shackles and prison cells. We gain that freedom. It feels better. And then we start to have this association with wiggling out of commitments and not making commitments and releasing structure as being part of our path to freedom. But only if we were already in a bad scenario. If you're starting from neutral, or really no matter where you're starting, positive commitments are always the best and only way actually to get results. You can check with yourself, but our ability to make and keep commitments to ourselves is the primary key to our own progress. It's the main key to our own progress because it keeps us on track and it creates that container for ourselves to receive, right? I'll tell you a story. I did a 5-week solitary silent retreat where I was by myself for 5 weeks in silence, in solitude, no talking or eye contact with anyone for literally 5 weeks. I was by myself in a little modern day cave, which was like a studio apartment in a retreat center in Germany. And all I did was eat, sleep, take walks, meditate, pray, write, read. No technology. And that's all I did for 5 weeks. And I had already had a 4-week runway to that, including a 1-week silent retreat and 2 weeks of like festival and meditation and teachings. And so anyway, it was like I was already in the zone, and then 5 weeks. It was amazing. But what did I realize? I realized that a lot of retreat is literally just us holding still long enough for enlightened beings to operate on us and do surgery on us, right? Retreat, a lot of it is just us holding still long enough for higher divine forces to come in and do their work on us, like surgeons. That's my experience. Maybe it matches your own experience. I hope so. I'm not saying that's all there is to retreat, but I'm saying that's a lot. And when you make your own personal commitments for like 6 months, for a year, for whatever, I'm gonna do this, right? you're creating that container, and that's by you staying on track. You're holding still long enough for divinity to come in and work you through. There's a whole process to go through. There's stages, and you have to, if you commit to the container, you can go through them all. There's actually modes of psychology that that work based on this premise of committing to a container. Normal psychology is so flawed. Normal therapy is extremely flawed because there's no commitment to come back, and the therapist has to continue to resell the person on coming back every time. So it's like a Netflix series. You ever watch Netflix shows where they're just complete freaking garbage, and you're hooked into the next episode so that you want to come back, but you're not hooked based on your higher natures. You're hooked based on your lower natures. You're hooked based on, oh, I'm just really curious about what's gonna happen, or whatever, or attachment to like this thing, right? Therapists do that. They want to get paid too, and so they create this thing where you have to kind of like it. You have to kind of feel like it's comfortable. You have to kind of feel like it's working. Every single one episode at a time. That's not enough to do the deep work. Sometimes you need to go through a dark process, right? Where you're like really facing your demons. And that might take several weeks to go through. And if you haven't committed to a container, you will bounce when that starts to happen. Most of us bounce. And it's just extremely unethical to sell single sessions one at a time, because you end up staying on the surface the entire time. It is horrible, horrible. And trust me, I came from the world of therapy. Mostly, that's what people do. Coaching and healing, it can be so different if you apply this understanding of containers. And as I was saying, there's a whole thing, dialectical behavior therapy, which is like, when it comes to difficult to treat patients, substance abuse and personality disorders are the two that are like so difficult. They only work when people commit to a container. But then it does work. If someone can commit, it works. And you make them sign a contract in the beginning. So you just apply this to your world of coaching, to what you do. Make people commit to a container, and also for yourself, honor your own commitments, because your ability to make and keep commitments is also your own ability to hold other people accountable to their commitments. If you can't stay with the same thing for 2 weeks, you cannot sell a program longer than 2 weeks, right? The longest that you can stay with it, if you can know that you can stick with something for 6 months and you have confidence in that, you will have no problem selling a 6-month program. If you've never done anything for 6 months at a time, you will not sell a 6-month program, because you won't even believe yourself that you'll be able to stay with it for 6 months, right? Does that make sense? That's the thing, is our own lack of ability to make a commitment is the reason that we can't sell long programs, right? So start with short programs. If you're just starting, it's like recovering. We are a recovering commitment. What's the opposite of junkie? We're the opposite of a freedom. We're a freedom junkie, right? We're a recovering freedom junkie, but false freedom. We're a recovering false freedom junkie, where our false freedom is the rejecting commitments and structures and thinking that that is giving us freedom, but it really is building us a grave. It builds a swamp of our energy. Have you ever felt like your energy became a swamp? Stagnant, unmoving. We need to add some structure to make it a river. Some structure. Not too much structure, because then it's a dam. You make some structure, so then you get the energy moving. Okay, structure would be like boundaries, commitments, right? Then your energy moves. We need to do this. And if you're recovering from rejecting all commitments and structures and anything masculine, usually is what happens, then we have a hard time with this. We have a hard time. And so start with small programs. Start with 8 weeks, 6 weeks, 10 weeks, right? 4 weeks. Start really small and sell that. Sell that, right? That's really what it is. And then as you do it more, as you stick with your own commitments longer, once you've been in business 6 months, a year, you can start selling 6-month and 1-year programs. That's my experience. Okay, So that is commitment, and that is all just trying to help you to gain a positive association with commitment. And then you are essentially trying to elicit commitment from a person. That becomes a lot of what a sale is holding other people accountable to commitments that they make. You're getting some practice at tying them down, at holding them to their commitments, because that's part of the therapeutic process. That's part of the transformational process, okay? So you have to do that. And then the next part is coaching. So here, coaching refers to overcoming objections, bringing people back. So after you ask for commitment, they're gonna kind of say, well, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. They're gonna say something other than yes, at least 2 or 3 times, I find. Usually 2 or 3 times, they're gonna say something other than yes after you ask them to commit and pay. The payment is symbolic of their commitment. Obviously, I think you know that. I never feel like I have a commitment from somebody until they pay me. Until their money's in my account, I do not feel that the commitment has been made. And not just any money, there has to be whatever is agreed upon as the lowest minimum first month payment, right? That first month, that first period payment, whether you charge monthly or weekly, whatever it is, they have to pay that amount first. And when that amount of money is in your account, you can consider the sale closed. Until then, it's not fully closed. They haven't really committed until their energy has transferred to you. Okay, yeah, that's my opinion. And once you ask them and they say something other than yes, and the money isn't in your account yet, then you're going to be using coaching to get them back on track. Now, coaching here refers to coaching really in its more official definition, which refers to more like asking questions and guiding and directing, like leading people to their own conclusions. Okay, you're overcoming objections. You've already asked for the sale. Before you ask for the sale, before you talk numbers and ask for the sale, anytime that you and them disagree on something, you call it challenging. It's where you're challenging them on something. They also call it like an obstacle. It's not an objection, it's an obstacle. Anytime that you can spot a potential objection early, you want to handle it before you ask for the sale, because it's easier to be direct. They consider it coaching, they're more open to it, they feel like you're trying to help them. It's you showing that you're a leader. It's not so sensitive. But once you ask for the price, you have to be more gentle. And anytime that you guys disagree, they might feel that you're just trying to manipulate them to get money. Okay, until you ask for the price, until that number's on the table, it's not even clear that you're gonna make them an offer. You're only gonna make them an offer if it's a good fit. You're qualifying them. You're saying, hey, do you have the ability to listen? Are you coachable? Are you gonna argue with me? I've gotten this result for myself and lots of clients, and you do not have that. And so are you really gonna argue with me and think that you're right now? If so, I do not wanna work with you, right? And so you are free to challenge them and address areas where they are not correct. And you can do that better before you ask for the sale. And so that's a skilled salesperson is doing. You have to do it. I really believe that you have to do it at least once. Some people are more advanced and they do it to themselves. Okay, they can do that for themselves, and that is okay. That is wonderful. That's a sign of a freaking excellent client if they can overcome their own objections and obstacles. Okay, but for a lot of people, you have to do it, and you can do it better before you ask for the sale, because they feel that you're just trying to help. And if you do it after the sale, if you do it too hard, they might feel that you're trying to just manipulate them and arm wrestle them for money. They're more sensitive. Their red flags are up, or whatever. Their guards are up, if that makes sense. And so after you ask for the sale, when you do overcome their objections, and anytime that you disagree, it's called an objection, and you use more subtle questioning. You use subtle questions, soft guidance. It's soft. And you're leading them to their own answers. You can't give it to them now because they will not have an easy time taking it. Now you have to lead them to it. Usually. There is one exception to this. Okay, so you're leading people to it in a softer way, right? And they're gonna start to realize certain things. Okay? Okay, and that process I'm calling coaching. And what can happen is potentially the time where you would be more directive and more assertive is if you reach an impasse, right? Sometimes it happens where they have a dysfunctional pattern that is going to block them. Maybe it's a procrastination pattern. Maybe it's a scarcity mindset pattern. Maybe it's I have to do everything myself pattern. Maybe it's I can't do this, whatever. They have some sort of dysfunctional pattern that you can recognize through your own experience, okay? And it's gonna, what I do is I usually try to go around it at first. If I notice something like this, I'll usually try to go around it, and I try to build a way around, like water going around a rock. I try to go around it, but sometimes it doesn't work. And if I realize there's no way forward unless we address it, then I address it. And I'll say something like, hey, it looks like there's a dysfunctional pattern coming up here. Do you mind if I coach you on it real quick? Right? Would you like some support on this? And if you ask it right, they'll usually say yes. And it's like, cool. So, seems like you use language like this. It seems like, it looks like, it feels like. It seems like, it looks like, it feels like. There's this pattern of procrastination. Have you ever noticed this before? And they're gonna say, of course, mostly they'll say, yes. Has this ever stopped you from getting results in the past and changing your life? And a lot of times they may say yes or no, but you wanna show them that most likely yes, it has, this is not new, and hey, would you like support with this today? Would you like, if I support you, I can help you with this right now, would you like some support? And they usually say yes. Now, I don't even know how I did this. I found the most elegant solution to get through this that is so beautiful, and it works so well. Okay, it works really, really well. And the solution is what I call the future self meditation. So what I do is I say, okay, let's connect to your future self. Your future self doesn't have this problem. Your future self is already past this obstacle. Your future self, whether it's 6 months or 5 years or 10 years into the future or 20 years, your future self already has the results that you're looking for. They already have the results that you want. And they've overcome this pattern already. So why don't we just connect to your future self and ask them, what would you do right now? What should I do? And almost always they're gonna say, well, I wanna move forward. They say to move forward, let's just do it, right? And so you help them, they're getting their own answer. You can't give that to them. You have to let them see it themselves. But if you frame it like that, it really helps them to see that this pattern isn't something that they need, and they can just connect to themselves, and boom, just like the pattern's gone. So I do this as a last resort when I'm closing sales. If I can't get through an objection, then I do that. But obviously it only works if someone already really wants to do it. You know that, right? Okay. So that is coaching. Then the next step is called combination. And combination is where you combine all these other things, right? So as you're overcoming objections, you're gonna be using your connection that you have with them. You're using the clarity, the information that you have with them. You're gonna be communicating some things about your offer, your process, your program, your method, the structure of your program, the results of students. You're gonna be communicating some of that stuff. You're also gonna be catalyzing them again, right? Then you're gonna be asking for the commitment again. And you're gonna be coaching them through objections. You do that, you combine all these things actually every single time that you overcome an objection. You're combining everything. And you ask for the sale. Okay? Now, if they don't say yes, you have to understand that the reason for that is that they're not certain. I think I covered this in one of my other videos. Not being certain is the reason why people don't move forward, right? And so anything they say, you can translate it as, I'm not certain. and then you bring them through the certainty meditation again, which means you talk a little bit about your process, program, method, offer, etc. with the right energy, and now their certainty gets higher, they raise them up, and then you ask for the sale again, you ask for the commitment. Okay? And you just keep doing that until the crystallization. The last step is called crystallization. That's where they pay you. That's where it all crystallizes into success, right? And that's beautiful. It's beautiful. You can create a crystal. You have all this raw material, and during the call, you can create a crystal by getting them to say yes to your program. And then that crystal is something that they keep during the whole program, and all their transformation comes from that crystal. Okay? And so that is it. And again, they pay you, and that's how it all ends. And then, of course, you have to keep selling. Even after they buy, you have to keep selling, because you have to sell them on consumption. You have to sell them on trying, being accountable, applying themselves, at least tasting what you've got, like coming to the groups, coming to the calls. Here's the schedule, blah, blah, blah. You're selling them, right? You have to keep doing it until they're like fully in the container, okay? And even when they're in, you sell them on moving through it until they're done. You're always selling. You're always using these skills to move people forward. Okay, I believe this was helpful for you. I hope it was. If you like it, please share it with other people. Comment, like, subscribe, all the things. Okay, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a good day.